Saxon Math 7-6, Lesson 104. Oh my gosh, this is one I like a lot, you guys. We're going to use proportions to solve ratio word problems. Oh my gosh. Ratio word problems are fun. I know that it's like a cliche that word problems, everybody goes, ugh, word problems, they're creepy and scary and hard. But I like word problems because they just create some interesting stories for us to think about besides just numbers all the time. And John makes really wacky word problems, which I enjoy. These are not horribly wacky, but they are picturesque. Okay, here's the way the problem sounds. The ratio of salamanders to frogs was 5-7. If there were 20 salamanders, how many frogs were there? Now, you can probably do that in your head, but I'm going to show you a process because they're going to get harder and you won't always be able to do them in your head. Example 104.1. Okay, what we're going to create is a tic-tac-toe board. Like so. Kind of a tic-tac-toe board. And I'm going to show you shortcuts so that this doesn't involve 6 hours of drawing a chart, okay? Fast and simple are my goals. But for the first one, I'm going to make it a little longer. We always set it up like this. Ratio, actual, okay? I'm going to abbreviate these to just be R and A later on, okay? This is always the way we will start to set it up. Later on, I think in Algebra 1, we'll add a third row, but for now, it's just 2 rows, 2 columns. This part is the tic-tac-toe board. I like to put edges on it so it looks nicer. And then what we always write on this, so this is always the same. Now we're ready to make it fit to our story. The ratio of salamanders to frogs. So I put them in the order that the story lists them. Salamanders, I can't fit it all in. Salamanders to frogs. When we get the hang of this, I'm not even going to write it out. I would just write S and F. But for now, I'm going to write it out so you know what the heck I'm talking about. The ratio of salamanders to frogs was 5-7. 5-7. The numbers are listed in the same order that the categories are. Animals in this case. Reptiles, amphibians perhaps. Salamanders to frogs is 5-7. If there were 20 salamanders, so that's the actual number we have, how many frogs were there? And I put a big fat X or whatever letter I like. That's the mystery we're trying to solve. Okay? Let me read it again and make sure you understand how I put the information into this chart. The ratio of salamanders to frogs was 5-7. If there were 20 salamanders, how many frogs were there? Okay? Now, you can probably see, oh look, it's just 5 times 4, so this would be 7 times 4. I know, pretend you don't notice that, all right? Pretend that you didn't see the pattern in these numbers. What we do is we take these numbers out and, whoops, what am I even doing? We set them up as a proportion. We just lift those 4 numbers up and put them into this other format with the lines and the equal sign. Do you see how I did that? There's no magic to it. There's nothing tricky about it. Just arrange the numbers exactly the way they are in the boxes. That's the magic of the chart. It takes the story and arranges it just the way you want it so that you can solve it. Now, all we have here is a pair of fractions that we can solve with cross multiplying. Yay! So, we learned that last time. 5 times x equals 7 times 20. Okay? And then before we multiply anything, I'm going to divide away the 5 because John makes all these numbers turn out cute. Now we've got x by itself. And what can we cancel here? Oh, 5 goes into 20 4 times. 1's left there. So we get x equals 28. Whenever you have a story problem, put the word of the answer with it. You know what I mean? Put describe what you found. And like you probably saw, 5 times 4 is 20, 7 times 4 is 28. Yeah, that's the right answer, but it won't always be that obvious, so don't think you don't need to know this. Example 104.2. There's There's only one more, you guys. I'm really sad. Okay, we look at the problem and we read it. The ratio of humpback whales to killer whales was 2 to 7. Right away I know tic-tac-toe box. Boom, boom, boom. I'm also making it bigger than it needs to be, but that's okay. I want for sure you to be able to read this. You can make yours smaller if you want. Okay, ratio to actual. I don't even have to look at the problem to know I'm going to need that. Now I'm ready to read the story and put everything in the order that it's given to me. The ratio of humpback whales to killer whales was 2 to 7. Right? The ratio of humpback whales to killer whales was 2 to 7. If there were 42 killer whales, okay, so the last piece of information John gives you could be either one, so you just have to make sense of it. If there were 42 killer whales, how many humpback whales were there? Cool? If that doesn't make sense, rewind this and watch it again. Now we're ready to take these 4 symbols out and set them up as proportions. 2 over 7 equals x over 42. I know you can already see the answer, but pretend that you can't. Cross multiply. 2 times 42 equals 7 times x. Divide both sides by 7. 7 into 42 goes 6 times. 1 left. So it's 2 times 6, so we get x equals 12 humpbacks. Right? And you knew that because you said, oh, 7 times 6 is 42, so 2 times 6 would be 12. You're right, but again, it's not always going to be so dang easy. That's it. That is lesson 104. The practices. John says draw a ratio box for each problem. He means that tic-tac-toe thing. Then solve the problem using proportions. John's boxes look slightly different than mine. I like mine better, obviously. Draw them like mine. And then solve each problem using the proportions, all right? And so these problems are exactly like the ones we did. Beautiful. I love this lesson. I love a good chart that helps organize words to numbers, right? That's the transition that's so challenging in word problems is how do you take words and make them into numbers and equations in your head? Charts like this help us do it. Okay, goodbye. I'm done.